OverThinker. Cities being overrun by
zombies, I know!
I am the NecroThinker. The gaming world must be restored to its former glory, as the poison you call modern warfare falls to the cleansing fire I call Zombie Galaxian.
We have to go
save Call of Duty?
Yes, that. Let's go do that thing.
Our universe rests on the uneasy border between two worlds. The world of man, ordinary and stable, and the world of games, imaginative and chaotic. Where these worlds collide, one man is called to stand for reason, maintain the balance, and destroy ignorance. He is the Game OverThinker!
Activision, the central Call of Duty facility, currently under attack by NecroThinker's video game zombies. If only this were the only game company currently under fire. Elsewhere in the world, BioWare is currently being pounded by fans of the Mass Effect series, infuriated by what they see as a lackluster ending to Mass Effect 3 and, by some extension, the abandonment of their own hard work, quote-unquote. Now, let me just concede this point right up front. I don't know what the ending of Mass Effect 3 is. I also don't know what I'm supposed to be expecting from it, because I haven't really played a Mass Effect game to what I consider completion yet, because they take a long fucking time, and I have 4 web shows to produce, and to be honest, what I have experienced of the series didn't exactly grab me by my short and curlies. I'll get to them in any case, I just figured I should say that right off the bat. Thing is, I do not need to have finished the games or seen this ending to see that the fan reaction went way over the line of acceptable behavior almost immediately in ways that no ending could possibly be bad enough to justify. I mean, seriously, Mass Effect fans, it took HAL's Emerald Action Team, the Green Lantern fanboys, like a decade to get as obnoxious as some of you have gotten in less than a week. Now, the big sticking point for those of you who are even less entrenched in the Mass Effect universe than me is that the series' big central selling point is that it takes customization of character and narrative to an unprecedented height. Players are asked to build their main character from the ground up, and through narrative choices and multiple options for forging relationships and interactions with the other characters, change the way the story plays out not only in the first game but in the 2 sequels. But the final ultimate ending of game number 3, apparently, is pretty much the same regardless of how differently you'd played through the story up to that point, and also apparently kind of unsatisfying under any circumstances, or so I'm told. Now, the question of whether or not the ending is any good is going to be a matter of opinion, but I honestly can't wrap my head around being angry that there aren't massively different ones for every little variable. I mean, how else could a story be compelling enough to be worth playing through without a definitive ending to build to? Let me back up a bit. You remember when I did that one episode where I mentioned that maybe the omnipresence of player-directed narrative and design options was making modern gaming less capable of delivering a storytelling experience of real richness and depth? This is sort of what I was talking about. See, while I'm aware that some noteworthy exceptions to this rule exist, generally speaking, stories come from storytellers, and part of what makes a good story is that you're receiving it as a reader, viewer, or listener as the singular vision of that storyteller, or in the case of, say, a movie, a team of storytellers. For every serious narrative art form, this much is true. The power dynamic between the teller and the audience is clearly established. The storyteller tells, the audience receives. This is partially why video games have a hard time telling good stories, as opposed to rote, ultra-simple setups or narratives so convoluted they'd be laughed at in any other medium. Gaming narratives have to either bend themselves around to create game experiences for the player, or frame narratives where every occurrence is so open-ended as to allow for multiple paths that it all ceases to mean anything. Generally speaking, direct audience participation will almost always make a story worse than it otherwise might have been. That's why nobody ever won a Pulitzer for a fucking choose-your-own-adventure book, or why the only live theater genre where improv actually works is comedy, where the inevitable absurdity can make things funnier. And now, with Mass Effect 3 and this ending fallout, a new wrinkle gets added. BioWare played up the choice and customization aspect so much as an important thing in the game-to-game marketing that now you've got fans who feel that their having played a game with player choice options entitles them to be considered part of the storytelling entity and thus justified in their demands for the story to be changed to suit their preferred whims, which in turn, oh god, there's just too much entitlement and immaturity to deal with in this format. Okay, so instead, let's go through the general swath of these complaints one by one and see if we can't take care of this efficiently. Okay? Okay. Okay, this is a totally valid complaint. Again, I don't know if I'd agree or not, but that doesn't matter. Obviously, if you don't like the way something ended, especially a series of games you've poured hundreds of hours and a certain degree of emotional investment into, I mean, it's possible to overdo the complaining, like, say, making death threats or sending nasty emails or even just banging your head against the wall. Yeah, that's over the line. But make no mistake, I am not suggesting that people don't have the right to be unhappy. That would be ridiculous. Okay, so again, without spoiling anything for myself or anyone else, the big complaint appears to be that the multiple endings resulting from the multiple paths a player can choose to take through each game wound up all being the same basic ending but with only minor superficial details changed. If that is in fact the case, yeah, that sounds kind of cheap, and I can see how people would be upset about it and agree they have a right to be upset. Have I made myself perfectly clear about that yet, by the way?
I am not saying you don't have a right to be upset about the end of Mass Effect.
Not saying that. Everyone clear on that? Okay. However, no, they didn't. Okay, fair enough, but that's not lying. If the endings are different in some way, however small, and your various story selections and stats affected which one you got, then technically BioWare told the truth. You may not like what it wound up meaning, you may think they overstated the amount of difference or implied more difference than there was, but that's not really lying. That's marketing. Big difference. I mean, I get the frustration, but this is kind of like wanting to sue Sprinkled Chips Ahoy because there isn't literally a party in every bite. No, they don't. I mean, again, I feel your pain, but "owe" is a strong word and here used entirely incorrectly. They sold the game, you bought the game. Your relationship vis-a-vis who owes what to who is complete. Morally, you might have a point. Might. Otherwise, no, sorry, they don't owe you anything. See, guys, no. This is where you start sounding like the chick from Misery. Did you see that movie? Okay, go see that movie. This is something that fans of all stripes, myself included at times, have always had trouble coming to terms with. You don't own something just because you like it a whole bunch. You own your copy of it, and you can do what you want with that, but the franchise, the story, no, that's owned by the people who made it. Mass Effect belongs to BioWare. If they say this is how it ends, it's how it ends. That's how it works. You don't have to like it, but that's how it goes. Do you know how many things I love that didn't end the way I wanted them to? A lot. You know how pissed I am, for example, that Xena ended without her and Gabrielle ever sleeping together? Pretty pissed. You know what's never occurred to me, though? Getting in Sam Raimi and Rob Tapert's face about it, claiming they owe me something. I mean, that's just silly. That and, that first season of Spartacus made up for an awful lot, let me tell you. Seriously, have you been watching that show? Watch that show. Lucy Lawless, still so hot. Not even funny. I mean, you know how cool this show is? This show is so cool, John Hannah is cool in it. Yeah, John Hannah, the little guy from the Mummy movies. He's cool in this. Where was I? Oh, right. Alright, admittedly the fact that BioWare made the player-altered narrative the central hook of the franchise clouds the issue a bit, but when you get right down to it, no, you are not the author of Mass Effect. You didn't create any part of that story, no matter how unique it was to you. You chose from a list of pre-selected options, which caused the story to take multiple but still pre-selected paths. I mean, come on now, think about it. This is like saying that filling up a Batman coloring book makes you part of the DC Comics art department. Look, what this all comes down to is the noxious wave of entitlement that has seemingly overtaken huge chunks of the gaming community this generation. We keep saying we want this medium to be taken seriously, for games to be judged with the same respect as other art forms, but then we insist that we are entitled to patches and DLC, not just to fix real problems, but to reshape the designer's original vision to more closely match our own. How the hell can we insist that the broader culture take games seriously when we refuse to take them seriously? If Mass Effect is to be judged as a narrative work of art as worthy of serious consideration and analysis as a similarly epic film or book, and I've been listening to Mass Effect fans insist that it is for the last 5 years now, then it needs to stand and be counted as one, as a complete, definitive thing in and of itself, perceived flaws and all. And if gamers want to be taken seriously, hell, to be worth taking seriously in the first place, we need to get over this perception that every game needs to be this malleable, empty thing that we can just patch and tweak to meet every one of our damn whims. If we don't, the medium will never grow as an art form, and we will never grow as gamers.
You did it, sir.
That we did. That we did. We've made the world safe for yet another generation of generic, multiplayer, right-wing propaganda recruitment tools. Yay for our side.
Still feeling a little conflicted about this one, sir?
No, I guess not. This NecroThinker, whatever he is, he's not going to stop with Activision. EA will be next, then Ubisoft, Apple, Microsoft, Sony, if he's feeling frisky.
We can't protect them all.
We gotta stop him now.
So what's the plan?
Assuming the NecroThinker's done his homework, the next target will be the Zynga Central Mega Server, which is located not far from here for some reason.
The massive data hub from which all of Zynga's social media games originate?
Yeah, if the zombies destroy that, Cityville, Farmville, Words with Friends, Pioneerville, all goes up in smoke. Mafia Wars, too.
Huh. You sure we can't just let him have this one?
No, we can't. So, I'll go to the Mega Server. You find out who the NecroThinker is.
What?
Use your psychic, magic, fairy stuff and, scan his brain. Find out who he is, or at the very least, how I'm supposed to kill him.
Uh-huh. And how am I supposed to figure out where to find him?
I got a pretty good idea where he's gonna go.
The ghosts of the past. They do not even realize you're here. But I do. I know you. I can see you. I will restore you. Sharkade. Rise.